maybe some people in the chat have never heard about sweet spot imping, or maybe you've heard about it and don't know what it is. But I'm thinking I'll explain exactly what sweet spot imping is, how it works, what I've learned about it over the last little bit, and hopefully you walk away with some pretty good information about how to efficiently skill up in this game. Let me, before I go any further, let me explain like what sweet spot imping is, why, how, and it works, and why we want to do it. If anybody's still in the dark about all this, here it goes. This is sweet spot imping. Sweet spot imping means that you are imping an item that is much higher than your skill. And by much higher than your skill, that's also relative because it depends on what your skill is. But like if you're at 50, then you would be imping something that's like 70-ish. Okay, so I'll go into the details about how to know exactly how much higher it needs to be compared to your skill. But as you get higher and higher and higher in skill, the difference between the quality of the item and your skill becomes less and less. So right now I am at 93.7, and the sweet spot target is somewhere around 95.16. We'll calculate it in just a second. But the idea is that if you improve something that's above that threshold, above that sweet spot point, then when you get a skill tick, it will be doubled. Like doubled skill tick. So if you improve an item and it's completely in your sweet spot, you're going to double your skill gain for the same amount of time invested. Okay, so that's the benefit of sweet spot imping. If you can get it just right, you're straight up double. So you know how like Circle of Cunning, if you have 100 Circle of Cunning, that doubles your skill gain, and then Sleep Bonus, that doubles your skill gain. Then Coffee gives you a 50% increase, so it multiplies your skill gain by 1.5. Affinities will increase your skill gain by 10%, so it multiplies by 1.1. Sweet spot imping will also multiply all of that by 2. So all of the buffs in Wurm in terms of increasing skill gain are all multiplicative, not additive, which is a huge deal. When you multiply bonuses like this, like you double and then multiply by 1.5 and multiply by 1. So we can do some calculations here. Okay, so let's say like 1 represents, this is how much skill I would have gotten. Like I would get 1 skill with nothing, no bonuses. Okay, so imagine I improve something, I get 1 skill for it. And thanks for the follow. If I have sleep bonus on, then that's right away, instead of getting 1, I'm going to get 2 skill, right? Everybody kind of understands that. If I have a 100 Circle of Cunning, then I double it again. So I multiply by 2 again, and I get 4. If I have Coffee on, I will multiply by 1.5. I would get 6 instead of 1. If I have a Affinity Food on, then I would multiply by 1.1. That's 6.6. And if I'm sweet spot imping also at the same time, I would multiply by 2 again. 13.2. So instead of getting 1 skill, or like 1 point on that action, I'm going to get 13.2 points on that action. Like, do you see how doubling and then doubling and then doubling again causes this like insane growth? The more buffs you stack in Wurm, the like way more skill that you get. Hey, Blue Cortina, what's going on? Welcome on in. Yeah. By the way, if you also, in addition, are on the path of knowledge and have reached level 11, which, by the way, you need 70 meditation skill for that, you would then also multiply that by 1.25. If you have an actual natural affinity, like you could potentially have up to 5 natural affinities in that thing, right? Like in that affinity plus the affinity food that we've already accounted for. But if you have 5 natural affinities, which you can accrue over time, or you can gamble for them. Each one is 10 more percent. So that's another 50%. You can multiply that by 1.5, right? Like, and this isn't the exhaustive list either. Like, there's a little bit more that you can go, but notice how, like, when we get, like, instead of getting one skill, you're getting 24.75 skill. Every little thing that you add to it just blows this number up, right? So the idea in Wurm is to just keep stacking as many of these buffs as you possibly can. And this is like the secret. And sweet spot imping is just one of these other things you can do that will just give you that extra boost, right? So now let's go to the equation. So the equation is this: like, if you want to know what your sweet spot is, let's say you start with your skill. So let's say your skill is 50, for example, but you would put in like the exact value that you have on your screen for your skill. But let's say your skill is 50. The calculation goes like this: you multiply that by 0.77, and then you add 23. Okay. So this, if my skill was 50, so I said 70 before, but it's actually 61.5. Any quality above 61.5 would give you that double skill gain. Yeah. And hey, Kian, welcome on in. Welcome back. Hope everything's well with you. Yeah. So that's the why we do sweet spot imping. And the how we do sweet spot imping is above this skill, above this threshold, and you imp it, and it gives you that doubling of your skill gain. Okay, so currently, let's calculate it for mine now. My skill is 93.171, and I'll just put an extra 1 there because it's like slightly above that. You know what? Let's put it 7.2, so that I'm like, this is just slightly above my skill. Multiply that by 0.77, and then add 23. So this forge, if it's above 95.158, then it will give me a double skill gain if I get a masonry skill. Okay, so let's look at to see what exactly it is. It's 95.564. Okay, so that's a little bit below it. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing here for a little bit longer, get it up as high as I can. I really want to get it high, up into my sweet spot. Now, one other thing is there's a few things to know here, is that I am doing what we would call solo sweet spot imping, which means I'm trying to take an item that's below my sweet spot and imp it up into my sweet spot. This is possible. It's hard and it takes a really long time. Like, you can imagine, in order for me to get this forge up to 95.16 when my skill is not even 95 yet, it takes a while. Okay, it is much easier to ask a friend who has much higher skill than you to help you with this process by improving an item or making an item that's higher. We can talk a little bit more about tricks about this, but for now, forges don't have any tricks associated with them, and so I have to either have a friend who has really high masonry, because I'm already in the 90s, to help me out, or I have to do what I'm doing here. When you solo sweet spot imp, it's almost like the game is designed in a way where you cannot keep the item in your sweet spot, because your skill will go up, pushing the sweet spot higher, which it takes a lot of effort to get the quality of the item to go higher than 95, right? So so my skill is going to go up, especially once I turn on all the sleep bonus and all the things. And then this has to cause the quality to sort of maintain stride with my skill. And the game is sort of designed in a way where it's not possible to keep the quality pushing beyond your sweet spot. It's always on that boundary. Sometimes it's below, sometimes it's above, and it just keeps fluctuating. So sometimes you'll get the double skill, sometimes you won't. And the idea about solo sweep spot imping is trying to maximize the percentage of ticks that give you the double skill gain. So in the end, I'm not actually going to be getting double over the long run. But if I can get 50% of my actions to be in the sweet spot, then I will get the I will get a 1.5% increase. Yeah, what if you're your only masonry friend? Well, it's not only that. Like it's like once your skill is high enough, then to ask a friend to come over and imp this forge to 97 for me, please, is a little bit yeah, it's a little bit much. Okay, testing now with carpentry. Okay, yes, now I remember. So Sir Pancake's testing it with carpentry, and okay, so there are some tricks to this for where. So you know how I was talking about, like sometimes you have to solo sweet spot, which means imp it all the way up into your sweet spot. But there are a couple tricks for a select number of skills that you can solo sweet spot without needing a friend. Okay, so one of them is carpentry, and the way you do this with carpentry is you improve a mallet. It has to be a mallet. Okay, so the reason is because mallets have this weird feature to them where you can create a mallet that is way higher than your skill on creation. So mallets are one of these special items where you pop it together, and if luck would have it, it could be a 99 quality mallet right off the bat with no improving needed. That happens for all mallets. And the chances that you get one of these high quality mallets created is based off of a couple things. One is your carpentry skill, of course. So the higher your carpentry skill is, the more chance you will get a much higher quality mallet. But also, it is capped by the quality of the wood that you're using. Okay, so if you're only using a 90 quality log to create a 90 quality shaft, and you do this, then the maximum that it possibly can come out is 90 quality. Okay, but let's say your carpentry skill is 50, and you somehow have access to a 90 quality log. Sorry, not a 90 quality log, but a 90 quality shaft. Yeah, that's so you have a 90 quality shaft, and you're able to make a 90 quality shaft. Which, by the, I'm not sure exactly how the quality of shafts come out based on your carpentry skill. Anybody know the answer to that? Like, if I have 50 carpentry skill and I have a 90 quality log, and I use a nice carving knife to cut out a whole bunch of shafts, what's is the quality of the shaft capped? Yeah, but let's say you have a 90 quality log, so you're saying that even with a 50 quality skill, you can create a 90 quality shaft? So if that's true, then yeah, the log quality caps shaft quality. Yeah. But not your skill, right? Your skill isn't capping it either. Like you can have a low skill and get a high quality shaft if luck would have it. So I'm pretty sure that's the case. I just wanted to double check. And Blue Cortina, it's confusing, but you get it. I know. I am just, this whole thing is like intermediate to like, this is definitely not newbie friendly, and I do apologize if there's any newbies or non-Wurmians in the group, but yeah, this is like for the player who's been playing for a while, and by while I mean like at least a few months, and is sort of ready to push to the next level. Or that player who's wondering, like, how is it that people can get their skills up into the high 90s? Like, how is that? How do people do that? So this is for those people. Does tool quality come into play too? Yes, I'm sure it does. So like, you need a high quality carving knife for this to work out nicely. I think carving knife quality determines the success chance, so will have an effect on the number of max quality shafts you get. Exactly. So you want a nice high quality carving knife, which, by the way, the carving knife is another one of these tools that are special tools, like the mallet, that when you pop together carving knife, it can come out at 90 quality in the moment that you pop it out. So this means that this can be done for weaponsmithing as well. Whoops, I'm just going to cancel these actions. One more thing I completely forgot to mention about sweet spot imping is that it only works if the action timer was less than 15 seconds. So if your action timer was more than 15 seconds, even if the item's in your sweet spot, it will not give you the double skill. So that's why I recommend Wound of Ages on your tools, so that the chances that your action timer gets into the 15-second mark is low. But back to the mallet and trying to solo sweet spot. If you have, let's say, decent carpentry, like mid carpentry, like 50 or something like that, you take a really nice carving knife on a really high quality log. So let's suppose you buy a single 100 quality log or 99 quality log. You cut a whole bunch of shafts. You take the high quality shaft that you just made, you cut the mallet head from it, and you pop it together with another high quality shaft, and there is a chance. It's not necessarily the greatest chance, but there's a chance that it comes out at a really high quality. At least there's a good chance it'll end up in your sweet spot. Okay, so that's sort of what you're aiming for. Okay, so let's see where we're at now that I've rambled on for a bunch.